So guys, greetings from Houston, Texas. Mike coming at you from Astro, Era of Truth, Aspect, and Relationship Astrology. And with Valentine's Day so close, I thought I would start my first of many videos outlining relationship astrology. And as I continue to make videos, I'm going to start going over specific aspects in a synastry chart. We'll also do composite charts as well, but in the future. But in this video, I'm going to be going over more of the big picture. Synastry charts. Synastry charts are going to be your first gateway into relationship astrology. It's when you lay two charts on top of each other and you start to see the interactions between the different planets, and it's how we sort of gauge chemistry, how two people interact, their day-to-day relating, and how that impacts a relationship. Synastry charts are pretty much as old as natal charts. I mean, they've been doing them for thousands of years, and it's a very complex chart to read, but I will be helping you sort of get the baseline of how to navigate your way through these types of charts. So I have actually, instead of just talking about my opinion of synastry charts and different aspects, I've provided examples. So let's take a look. Okay, so what we're looking at here is a synastry chart between me and my best friend, actually. And you can do synastry charts between business partners, lovers, parents, and children. You can do them between friends. And this is a friendship that has actually lasted about 25 years. We've been friends since we were little kids. And when you look at a synastry chart, you're going to see on the inside, right over here, this is me. And then this is my buddy, outlined in red. And you start to see these little aspects line drawn from planet to planet. So a blue planet to a red planet, red line, challenging aspect. And of course, the different planets outline different parts of the personality, and the lines between the different planets represents how those different parts of that person's personality are aspecting each other. Now, a little bit of guidance when looking at synastry charts. Many people are under the impression that lots of blue lines equal, of course they represent harmonious aspects, and blue lines are necessary to gain a decent flow of harmonious relating between the two individuals, but you actually really need to have some hard aspects. Hard aspects are very important because the longest and the best relationships are sometimes challenging. You've got to actually learn and grow, and through conflict, we evolve. So, however, I will note that certain challenging aspects are far more difficult to handle than others. Like, let's see. Check this out. This is my Saturn. This is the planet of responsibility, the father. And this is Mars, the planet of action, the subconscious ego drive. When we see this square occurring between those two planets, that's actually generally a very, very nasty aspect. We see Saturn not wanting to move forward in this particular area of life, being aspected by Mars, the part of you that wants to go forward, part of you that's pretty much hot to trot, and those are coming into clash. So that in itself actually can create a lot of problems, especially in a committed partnership, a marriage, because there's just not a lot of agreement on how the two people should go forward. And then on top of that, you see this nasty little aspect right here. Mars, square my moon. Being that Mars is a far more masculine planet than the moon, Mars has the ability to, I guess, wound the moon relatively easily because it's a very soft part of a person's natal horoscope. So with this particular individual, we grew up together. Our dads were best friends, and our dad's synastry charts just as conflict ridden as this. And we spent the better part of our early childhood in trying to kill each other. Basically, an argument would erupt between the two of us. Boom. Based on he would want to do something, I'd be like, no, that's stupid. So he'd get pissed off. And so he'd start hurling insults that would attack my Leo moon, and the Leo moon doesn't react very well to that. And so it'd be like, me,
You're acting like an asshole. Why are you being like this? Nobody likes you anyway.
And they'd be like, bitch, I'll fucking kill you. And so we would just get into these horrible arguments. But challenging aspects also provide opportunity for growth. So over time, we actually learn to tolerate and respect each other. I remember actually one particular incident where we were both in class together, and I was placed in the back of the classroom for, acting in a disruptive fashion. My Mars squared Jupiter aspect was very well apparent, even at a young age. And he thought it would be funny to write a note that said, "Please do not feed the toilet," and stuck it on my desk while I was sitting in the back of class. And so I erupted in a very Leo moon fashion and grabbed an encyclopedia off the shelf and proclaimed to the classroom, "Behold, the power of knowledge," and then smacked the shit out of him and got sent to the principal's office. But, that was a constant theme. But you also see all these positive aspects between the two of our personalities that we are able to sort of rely on to help build our friendship. See, Venus with a nice trine to Mercury. So, his communication style, very much complicated. It was complicated what I find appealing in my values. And then we also see this Pluto conjunct Venus aspect, which is far more pronounced and intense in relationships. And I will be doing a video on Venus conjunct Pluto because that shit is no joke. I've experienced it many times. But it can be a very binding aspect because through conflict, there is transformation. And so all the conflicts ignited by these crazy hard aspects would be resolved over time through the conflict ignited by this Pluto conjunct Venus aspect, because it's just the funny thing about that aspect is y'all get into arguments, y'all fight, but at the end of the day, y'all transform and transcend the situation over time. Also, on top of that, the North Node. It's a very magnetic point of anybody's natal chart. Exactly conjunct my sun. And when that happens, that's any close contacts to the North Node are very binding. Incredibly binding between two individuals. It's almost as if I shined a light on his path to karmic growth. And very interesting. Now, I'm not necessarily going to go as much into house overlays on this particular chart because it's important in any synastry chart, but we'll go over it in this next chart that I'm actually about to pull up right now. See, this is a chart between two individuals that are just friends. This is a relationship chart. This actually definitely evolved into something far more than friends. Now, when you're looking at relationship compatibility, you can't really define compatibility by the synastry overlay. What you can do is identify particular day-to-day struggles and between the two individuals, and you can also sort of figure out how the two people feel about each other. So take this for instance. We have the moon in Gemini over here, and we have the moon in Leo over here. Perfectly sextile to each other. Exactly. That means that the emotional needs, the moon represents the emotions, may not be exactly the same, but they are complementary. The sextile is a very complementary sort of bond between the moons. Even more striking is the angles. So the ascendant is a part in anybody's chart that it's where they express the whole personality, all bundled up and just expressed through this one little thick line. Well, his ascendant and her moon exactly conjunct. Double whammy. Moon, ascendant. When you see that happening, that's a very powerful contact in synastry. Because, and it doesn't necessarily have to be conjunct either. It could be moon trine the ascendant or moon sextile the ascendant. But when that happens, the moon person feels very instinctively put at ease by the outward mannerisms of the ascendant person. And when you have that going both ways, double whammy aspects like that are an absolute godsend. Now, on the other hand, we have this clusterfuck right here. And like I said, Pluto conjunct Venus is nothing to snark at. When you see that occurring in a relationship between two people, it can be incredibly passionate, but at the same time, incredibly volatile. And that's the thing, is volatility and passion are oftentimes something that's necessary in a relationship to make it even appealing. If you saw nothing but blue lines in a Synastry chart, I mean, what are the two people going to do? They're just going to sit around by the TV, do the same damn thing every day, and it's just, there's no excitement. Passion, conflict, growth. That's what relationships are all about. Now, I will also point out that it is imperative that before you even do this Synastry chart, you look over the natal charts of both individuals so that you can see what type of relationship they're looking for to begin with. So like for instance, this person, Pluto conjunct Venus. Well, that it's just seeing that there. I don't even got to look at the natal chart, but just seeing that right there points to an individual that definitely links up matters of the second house with matters of the eighth house. So we're talking about somebody who likes platonic relationships. On top of that, it's Venus and freaking Scorpio. So this Pluto contact right here is going to be right up their alley. Right up their alley. On top of that, we've got Mars conjunct Mars. Mars making a good aspect to either to another sexual planet. Mars making a flowing aspect to Venus or a conjunction to Venus or it's generally a very good thing. But when you see Mars conjunct Mars like this, it definitely points to very common, very similar sexual drives. It's also good in friendships too. Now, you're looking at house overlays. When you look at a Synastry chart, you check out the houses on the outside and the houses on the inside, and you see where the planets on the inside fall into the outside. So this is a Jupiter. Jupiter is in my fourth house. Well, it falls into the other person's second house. So Jupiter falling into the other person's second house, because Jupiter expands and magnifies and it brings the luck and optimism, it blows up or expands this person's sense of self-esteem or their sense of self-worth. So it's wonderful for, I guess the second house person has a way of thinking that the Jupiter person sort of, can help them gain resources, gain materials. Now, look at all these planets falling into this eighth house right here. The eighth house is where you're going to find obsession. It's where you're going to find obsession, deep intimacy, transformative relationships, because the eighth house and Pluto are always going to be interlinked. And you want to look at where the sun falls. So this sun falls in this person's fifth house. So the sun lights up that house. The fifth house, which is all about romance and self-expression and sex, and more sex, and the babies that come along with sex, is lit up by this person's sun. That immediately is going to bring this person's going to feel very much, their sense of fun is going to be, very much lit up by the person on the inside. Now, on the other hand, this person's sun drops right into this little person's eighth house. And that doesn't, it lights up eighth house issues. So if this person has obsession issues, that sun dropping in there is going to light it completely up. Just like if the sun were to fall into the 11th house, it would light up that person's, issues related to their hopes and dreams and their desire to work with groups. And if the sun were to fall in the 12th house, that's actually not that great of an aspect. If the person's sun falls in the 12th house, that can bring subconscious issues to life in the 12th house person that they just don't want to deal with and can get real sensitive over the matter. It just depends on their own opinion of the 12th house in their chart. So you kind of have to take all of this into account. Also, Juno is really, 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 really important in determining marriage compatibility, because Juno in a person's natal chart represents the type of partner that they need, not necessarily the one that they find attractive, but the type of marriage partner that they really need. or in a woman's chart, it has a lot to do with how they act. But it can be a little bit of both. So just to see, Juno conjunct the North Node, that's a very, very good aspect, because that person's obsessive drive towards fulfilling their destiny is very much in line with the other person's view of commitment. Also, we've got Venus making a relatively loose conjunction to Juno. And it's Juno and Scorpio. Holy shit. But the Venus person, their aesthetic appeal, their Venusian qualities are very, very much in line with the with the Juno person's idea, or not idea, but of what that Juno person really needs. Now, I'm not going to say this chart's perfect. It's definitely not. I mean, there's going to be challenging aspects. Like, look at this. You see Neptune making a bunch of hard aspects in a chart, and a conjunction is a hard aspect when it comes to outer planets. Any inner planet from one person making a conjunction to Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, Saturn. Those are hard aspects because the nature of those planets is so intense. So, you just keep that in mind. Like Pluto conjunct Venus, it's a hard aspect. Neptune conjunct the Sun, hard aspect. Very hard aspect. And a good relationship's going to have a blend of both challenging and positive aspects. So, on top of that, once you get done with the Synastry Chart, you've evaluated that and made your own opinions, you can add extra asteroids. You can add the asteroid Valentine. You can add Eros, Nessus, Psyche, Telephus. It just, depends on what you're, what type of links you're trying to find between each individual. However, don't overanalyze it. If you're trying to analyze the synastry between you and another individual and you've added over 6 asteroids, either one, you're obsessed and you really need to stop overanalyzing the situation, or 2, you probably have a lot of Virgo placements, and I just feel terrible for you because it's just the more lines you add to these charts, the more difficult they can become to read, because a synastry chart's going to have far more aspects between planets than an average natal chart. So just, when it comes to reading these, it's just keep it simple, stupid. And yeah. Like I said, I will be going over more in-depth descriptions of certain aspects. This is sort of more of a broad overview, but I hope this was helpful. I'll be getting back to y'all soon with more videos, and please subscribe to my new YouTube page. I just set it up. I've got all my videos uploaded on it. It's not the prettiest right now, but it's getting there. So, thank you guys. Until next time.